this. So I think this is an appropriate title, Falls, Don't Do It. Okay, hold on a second. So I'm just curious with people who are on the call, is this kind of first and foremost on your mind about being kind of safe at home, or the idea of falling? Is it something you're kind of conscientious about?
Yes. Number one.
Number one. And I can just tell you, like, as I get older, it hurts more when I fall. Right?
And there's a greater chance of hitting your head, at least in my case. I don't catch myself with my arms as much as I did when I was younger.
Yes. For sure. Right. Because that's, I mean, we want to brace ourselves, right? When we fall, and then we'll break an arm. Right. But we always want to protect our head. So it's a whole thing. So the idea is falls, just don't do it.
Right.
Right. Does anyone else, thanks Karen for sharing. Does anyone else have any thoughts about, you know, is it really conscientious?
I have so many friends who've fallen and badly hurt themselves. I'm thinking maybe it's time to start wearing a bicycle helmet around the house.
Right. Right. Well, I'm going to have some ideas in here, and typically I would be in office because Linda and I do this really great exercise to show you, like, if you're on the ground, ways to get up, because the first time that you get up and off the floor shouldn't be with a fall. It should be when you guys, you know, have, you know, your arms and legs available, and sit down on the floor like once a day and make sure that you're able to get up there. You're using different muscles, and it's just a good thing to probably practice getting up and off the floor. And I'm curious, when was the last time you guys were on the floor?
Yesterday. I mean, down to, you know, take things out of a bottom shelf or something.
Okay, but your butt wasn't on the floor?
To get down to something low, I don't stoop. I just get down on my hands and knees to reach it.
Okay. How about Leanne?
Now, why did you call on me?
Well, I'm just going to go down the names that I recognize.
No, yeah, Cari, no, it's a struggle, but I think it was about a week ago I got on my hands and knees to dig in the back of a cupboard. But, you know, in the kitchen, at least you have the counter.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And I purposely sit on the floor to put my tennis shoes on, you know, instead of sitting on the bed to do it. Like, I'll get myself down on the floor because it's harder and harder to get up, but I don't want to lose that ability.
Right.
Right. Paul or Dave, any thoughts on that?
No, I was on my knees. I was doing some, not gardening, what do you call it? I was doing some raking.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm really, I don't know, every time I see a leaf, I have to get rid of it. I didn't want to get the rake back. So I stooped down and I bent over to pick it up, but I haven't, I didn't sit down on my butt. I just bent over, or I go on my knees.
Yeah.
So, and even that sometimes is not difficult, but it's not comfortable.
Right. It's not comfortable. But the whole idea is, I can remember when my mom, living back in the Midwest near Chicago, and she fell on when she went to get her mail, and then she was coming back up to the garage, and she lives alone, and she fell on the ice, and she didn't get hurt, but she could not get up. She tried to get her feet underneath her, but the ice kept slipping. Luckily, she didn't have her phone with her. She did not have a life alert, but somebody driving by stopped to help her. And I was just like, oh my Lord, all my siblings live within 5 miles of her, but it was so scary. And then she started wearing a life alert. But she did, when I talked to her about practicing being on your butt and whether crawling to a chair and, or shifting yourself back on your butt, any ways that you can get to something that's going to help you up. So those are the things we're going to kind of talk about today.
Cari?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any way that you can mute Folsom Hall, but there's background noise from conversations in there, but I don't know if you can do that.
I don't think I can, but is Mary Lou there?
Well, we don't want to mute you because then we wouldn't hear you. So we just need to ask Rose to not talk so loud.
That's the only voice, yeah.
Not that we're calling out anybody.
No,
Mary,
I need the microphone.
sorry.
But Linda, can you mute Folsom Hall so they can't hear?
then
The-
I guess it doesn't matter since you're the one who's.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, great.
So let's just, oh, there we go. So it's a big problem, falling for sure. 1 out of 3 older adults that's age 65 or older falls each year, but less than half talk to their healthcare providers about it. I mean, that's kind of scary because that's the beginning of, if there's a fall, there's a lot of things that can intervene. There could be interventions to prevent an injury from happening, when the beginning of falls happen. Among older adults, falls are the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries. And I tell you, physicians cringe when they hear anyone 65 or older getting on a ladder. And I'm very conscientious. I'm super conscientious about a ladder. But I am going to share a story which is so stupid. I was in my office where I am right now, and I have a roller desk chair. And I stood on it to reach something behind my screen. Now, how asinine was that? Because sure enough, when I moved forward to reach, the chair went out from underneath me. We had carpet in here at the time. Now we don't, but we had carpet at the time. But I fell onto the chair. I knocked over a table next to the desk and ended up directly on my butt on the floor. And then I had a bruise about this big on my butt. I mean, I did not get hurt. I mean, it hurt, but it landed on the most padding that I have. And then by chance, I was going to see my dermatologist like the next week, and they're like, what happened? Like I had explained my stupidity. It just was, that was just a lack of judgment for me to do that. I'm lucky that nothing worse happened.
Cari, I was told that Medicare requires that when you go to the doctor, they're supposed to ask if you've had any falls. I've had a few doctors ask that, I guess after a certain age, and that's relatively new requirement or whatever, but.
Yeah, I think that is accurate. And so of course, anyone of Medicare age is usually 65 or older. And so that's just a really good baseline question to ask. It's just, we need honest answers because a lot of people are embarrassed that they fell. But I'm going to talk about some interventions that can maybe help prevent a big injury from happening. So how big is this problem of falls? So this is kind of an older slide, but 2013, 2.5 million non-fatal falls among older adults were treated in the ER. And more than 730,000 of these patients were hospitalized. So, you know, as you get older, your bones may be a little bit more brittle, or maybe you have less cushion to prevent a bone from breaking, but that's all it takes is a fall to break a bone or have a concussion. In 2012, the direct medical cost of falls adjusted for inflation were about 30 billion. So as we get older, we are more active. Those chances of falling are going to be increased. So it's just raising that awareness, because we don't want to be a statistic. So what outcomes are linked to falls? So what happens? So 20 to 30% of people who fall suffer moderate to severe injuries, such as lacerations, hip fractures, or the dreaded head traumas. That's what's really scary. And then just add that added layer, are you on a blood thinner, right? Because any fall, and if you're on a blood thinner, if you're hitting your head, you could have a closed head injury with increased bleeding, bleeding around any internal organs. If you were to hit something on your way down, it just is an added layer of trauma and drama that comes with a fall. Falls are most common cause of traumatic brain injuries. And in 2040, 46% of fatal falls among older adults were due to traumatic brain injury. So probably an increased number of people that are older are on a blood thinner, and then you hit your head and that can become a traumatic brain injury, which is very scary. So what outcomes are linked to falls? So most fractures among older adults are caused by falls, which kind of makes sense. The most common are fractures of the spine or the hip, or those forearms that are trying to brace you when you fall, the leg, the ankle, the pelvis, upper arm, and the hand. Okay, I think we named like almost every major bone, right? I mean, come on. Everything is really at risk of a fracture. And I think of my grandfather who was walking. He walked to his little grocery store every day. And they think he broke his hip and fell. Not that he fell and broke his hip. And I was like, wow, how does that happen? Because I was probably 13 when that happened. That was crazy. Yeah. Many people develop a fear of falling. This fear may cause them to limit their activities, which leads to reduced mobility and a loss of physical fitness, that's not good. And in turn, increases their actual risk of falling. You know, like if you become paranoid about it, because we want to be moving, we want to keep our muscles strong. We want to be able to, if we do fall, we want to be able to get up. So that fear, so we have to keep that confidence up that we can manage ourselves. If we fall, we'll be able to get up. So how can we prevent a fall? I think this is really interesting. So exercising regularly is really important because we're using all those muscles. It's important that the exercises focus on increasing leg strength and improving balance, and that they get more challenging over time. Now listen, I think that Tai Chi program, it is especially good. So thank you, Dave. UC Davis is just starting a little program in our department. It's called A Matter of Balance, which kind of follows a lot of the same Tai Chi, but it also, I think that combination of what Dave does and what Linda does with strength training is like the perfect combination. It's that perfect marriage of keeping your muscles really toned and used, and really will minimize the amount of injury if there is a fall. You also want to ask your doctor or pharmacist to review your medicines, both prescription and over the counter, to identify those that may cause side effects or interactions such as dizziness or drowsiness that could put you at a higher risk of falling as well. Anyone who's on a blood pressure medication, if you think about it, you know, like if you bound out of the chair or you bound out of bed, you can get kind of that, you know, like that little bit of dizziness, which there should be no bounding. If you're on blood pressure medication, it should be standing, waiting a few seconds before you start moving to kind of acclimate the blood flow to your brain. So how can we prevent falls? So number one, have your eyes checked by an eye doctor at least once a year, and update your eyeglasses to maximize your vision. You need to really be able to see. Consider getting a pair with single vision distance lenses for activities such as walking outside, if that's something you need. The other thing is make your home safer by reducing tripping hazards. Adding grab bars inside and outside of the tub or shower and next to the toilet, and add railings on both sides of stairways, and improving the lighting in your homes. So I have to say, I'm very conscientious, like getting in and out of the tub. We don't have a bar, but I do hold on to the faucet. The idea of falling is very, you know, it's something that's always on my mind, something that I want to really prevent. To lower hip fracture risk, older adults can get adequate calcium and vitamin D from food and or from supplements. Do weight bearing exercise. So when we talk about weight bearing, we're talking about, you know, that you're holding your weight, like walking. Not necessarily swimming or riding a bike, but when we're actually carrying our weight and exercising that way. Get screened, and if needed, treated for osteoporosis. If you've got those really brittle bones, that's something that you can be on high alert about. Checklist for hazards in each room. So I could tell you at any given time, that picture could be my room. I'm sure we've all had rooms like that where there's only a path, but this is like a tripping hazard just waiting to happen. You know, clear a path to walk through a room, remove rugs or anchor them so they don't slip, keep objects off the floor, and coil or tape wires or cords. And there's one place at my mom's house where the carpet was a little worn, so she always wanted a throw rug over that worn part of the carpet, which was in a high traffic area. And she was using a walker. And I said, we need to get rid of this throw rug, Mom. It's, especially with that walker, it's just something to get snagged on. But she was so upset that her rug had that hole in it. And I'm like, seriously, who cares? We really wanted to look out for her safety. And stairs and steps, inside and out. Clear any objects on the stairs. Don't pile up your laundry or anything like that. If the steps are uneven or broken, fix them. Make sure you have good lighting, overhead light, and switch at the top and the bottom of stairs. Fix any loose carpet that's on the stairs, or fix loose or broken handrails on both sides of the stairs. That would be horrendous to be able, if a fall that would go down the stairs. And then think about when we're in the kitchen, you know, place frequently used things. You know, you don't want them on the very top shelf where you have to climb on a step ladder or a chair, or like this kid stepping on his dog. Use only a step stool that has those bars. And that's what we have. We have a step stool that has bars on either side.
You know, when I was at Target, you know, the worker had left like that step stool in the picture, but it had a long handle. I mean, you know, up where you could put, you know, hold. I like to get that. They didn't sell it. That was the stores, but I think I'm gonna go to Amazon because I like the feeling of being able to at least have one arm sometimes if I need to, holding on to the,
Right.
yeah.
Especially in like on, under this step stool, the one I have, this bar extends about 3 feet up. So even though I'm up a little bit, then that bar, like I can grab it up high. Like if I'm on the top step, I still have this bar to hold on to. So it's not just at my knees, it's not just at my waist, it's up closer to my chest. And it gives me a sense of, you know, like it's a safety net. It's like something I can grab. I don't feel like I'm such at risk of falling off my step stool.
Yeah, where'd you find that at?
I got it off of Wayfair, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So bathrooms, oh boy, so we really want to use those non-slip rubber mats on the floor of a shower or a tub. You know, you got to be very careful of water on tile or travertine or whatever it is you have in your bathroom. You know, and using support bars for a shower, tub, or toilet. That can be everything. Right? And so in your bedroom, so make sure you have a lamp close to the bed where it's easy to reach, and having those night lights on as well. You know, or just keeping the closet light on so it's not pitch black in the room if you need to get up and use the restroom. You know, and I automatically, from our bedroom into the master bath, sometimes I'm the one who leaves my clothes at my sink. So before I go to bed, I just make sure that nothing is in a pathway between our bed and the bathroom, to the toilet. So if my shoes or my clothes that I just take off, I should just hang them up or throw them in the dirty clothes, but they usually just hang out right by my sink on the floor. So I just push it all up against my cabinet so there's a nice big path. I don't want myself falling. I don't want my husband falling. Other things to do to prevent a fall. So of course, exercise regularly. Again, use those muscles. See your doctor regularly. Review meds for any that can cause dizziness or sleepiness. Get your vision checked yearly. Get up slowly from a sitting or lying position. No bounding. Our bounding days are over. Wear shoes inside and outside. Avoid barefoot or slippers, like especially slippers that you just slip in. Like they can be super easy to trip on. You know, when your foot kind of dislodges from it, you can end up tripping over slippers like that. So make sure that they're actual shoes. Improve the lighting in your house. Even consider like fluorescent, those LEDs. And I like this idea, like paint a contrasting color on the top edge of all steps for better visuals. So I have to say, in my in-laws' house, they have really dark wood. And you come in through their front door, and off to the left is a step down into their living room. But it's all dark wood. And they've had, and my in-laws are in their 80s now, and they've had friends come over and not see the dark wood, that it's a step down. And they have people have fallen. So they've got tape on just in that one area from the first step to the second step, just so people can see. I'm like, that's a good idea. So thank you for not falling. And I think Linda is available. Maybe she can get in front of that camera so people who are on the Zoom, you know, like, Linda, can you show us some ways of getting up and off the floor? And she's down. And so what's the first thing you're going to do, Linda? Linda, you're muted, so we can't hear you if you're saying something.
Let me see. Yeah,
There you go.
they could see you.
There you go.
Yeah, they could see you.
So now, what do you want me to do?
So you've fallen on the floor, so go all the way down. And so what's,
Help me, I've fallen and I can't get up. But I can get up.
You can't reach your ear.
okay,
So-
so tell us what you're gonna do.
Well, so since I'm really not hurt, I'm gonna get up. And the way you typically want to get up basically is to roll to your side. So you can push yourself up, right? That's how we normally get up.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm up, depending on where I am, what I want to do to get up, I'm looking around. So there's a chair right here. So I'm gonna go over towards this chair so I can pull myself up on the chair. And there's multiple ways I could do that. And one way is to just basically walk at my butt
Oh.
back to the chair, or I can turn over, crawl through it. Wherever, now I'm by the chair, so I can put my hands on there, put one leg under myself, and then the other leg and stand up. So that's how I'm gonna get up.
Yeah,
And I want to say one other thing about actually falling down, that if you're gonna fall down, it's nice to do it right. Because it's not the fall that's bad, it's the fact that you got hurt that's bad. So if you're gonna fall down, you want to fall down in a way that you don't hurt yourself.
a graceful fall.
So, and then if you work out with me, we do a lot of stuff where we work on this rotation and our leg strength, because part of falling down is being able to shift your weight and to catch yourself. So if you can catch yourself before you're gonna fall, that's a good thing. But if you can't catch yourself and you're gonna fall down, you don't have time to think about what is the way I'm supposed to fall down most correctly, yada, 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 because you don't have time to think because it's just happening to you. But the best thing you could think about is being small, because when you start to fall and you stick your arm out to catch yourself, what's gonna happen? Or break your arm. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to use your limbs. So if you're going to start to fall, you want to think about getting small so that you can basically just roll into the fall and not hurt anything. So that's the mission, is to basically get small. So if you feel like you're falling, get small. So when you fall, basically closer to the ground and your parts are protected, so you're not going to hurt them.
And that's just not a natural instinct at all. And I think it probably takes practice. I wish that there was more people, I implore everybody who's on the call and anyone who's in the gym to, once every few days, get on the floor, all the way on the floor, and figure out ways of getting up. So you got that muscle memory, and practice falling.
I don't know
Without
if they need to
getting
do
hurt.
that, but they need to.
Tie your shoes on.
Yeah, that's what Cari said she did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So any question, what are your thoughts on this information?
Cari, the thing, the other good point about what Linda just demonstrated is that I learned that if you bend forward when you're starting to lose your balance, you're less likely to actually fall. But our natural instinct a lot of times is that we bend backwards from the waist and then fall back and, more likely to hit our head. So when she was demonstrating getting small, she bent forward in half. And
Yeah.
just that action will keep you, I think that the majority of the times will keep you from falling.
Yeah.
Is bending forward. That's what they teach in the Alexander training and so forth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. Yeah, anyone else want to share?
Well, I know what she's saying is true because I fell when I was in Japan, in Okinawa. in that steam room, and it's at different levels. And I landed on my head. I got a bruise on my forehead. And if it wasn't for the pad and the big water bottle, it would have been even more severe because all of it went down together. And when I came back to the state, I didn't get examined over there. My doctor, every year, he checks to see if there's any damage, but so far it's been, 3 years? Nothing. But, I feel blessed about that, but I wish I would have known about that fall.
Too many walls in that room too, it sounded like,
Yeah.
plus it was a wet floor and.
It was steamy and I couldn't see. All I wanted to do was go get a towel, because everybody had this towel on their face looking for it.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's so scary. Yeah.
Can you hear Kevin?
Two.
Talk loud.
She broke her upper arm here. But when we went in to repair it, her bones were so bad. That the orthopedic surgeon said he wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have done a surgery if he didn't have it. So sometimes, you have to you have to be thinking about things like that too. That you want to try and prevent yourself from suffering injury work. You have to do orthopedic work, especially the older you get, because there's this diminishing returns sort of, repair versus
Right.
invasive surgery, where the line crosses somewhere out there for everybody, where the surgery is worse, the cure is worse than
Yeah.
the accident. So, yeah, learning to, tuck and fall as best you can,
Right.
protect your head. It's really important.
Cari, can you speak to treating osteoporosis? Is what's the current vogue for that? Because
You know what, I do a talk on osteoporosis and calcium, so I'd have to look, the big thing is, I'm sure probably everyone that's on this call has already had a bone density scan, which is a really great screening tool to see kind of what is the density of your bones. And what we know is that, getting most of your calcium intake as a young adult pays off at this, by the time when when we really need it. I'd have to look up to see what the
do
current
people
guideline-
take Fosamax anymore, or is it taboo because it does too much other bad stuff? You're nodding your head, Karen. What do you know about that?
Yeah, I don't,
Well, I was put on it when I had osteopenia only years and years ago, and then stayed on it for 7 years without, nobody checked or anything. I was the one that read and said, I want off of this, because at that time they mentioned 5 years. And I've heard it can have some heart issues, and now they have things that are like, I have a neighbor who gets an injection once a year, and it supposedly does the same thing. It's very expensive.
yeah.
But that's all I know, is that there's some controversies. However, I guess it's a matter of cost benefit analysis. If you had really fragile bones that were prone to breakage, I guess you'd be willing to take the risk of the Fosamax. I don't know, Cari, you would know more.
Yeah, I would have to I don't want to lead you down the wrong path, because it's been a couple years since I've done that lecture on calcium and our bones, bone health, I think is what it's called. But I can do a quick lit search and, get the updated data if you guys want that information for the next time I talk.
Well, I'm going to give a little plug here. Actually, Jose, our RD intern, is going to do a talk on bone health and nutrition
Oh, cool.
in a couple of weeks. So
Perfect.
maybe if you learn something about Fosamax, you can share that with him, so he could share it as part of what he's doing.
Sure. Okay. So who is this? Who's doing it?
Jose,
Okay.
Kevin has something to say.
For preaching here, you get enough calcium through vegetables is a tough task
too. So that's something that identifying what things will help. So I know like my cocktail of blood pressure medications is always really low on the scale of calcium. And it leaches out things like magnesium and potassium and calcium and sodium. And so that's something that I worry about is if I break a bone, it's gonna be brittle or that, how hard it's going to be able to, my body's going to build back the bone because constantly having that stuff leached out by the blood pressure.
Yeah.
So they have to be able to choose to have vegetable alternatives to help add back the calcium. A couple of cans because you have to like huge volumes of it. And they can't suddenly develop lactose tolerance. So they can't drink a glass of milk like I used to when I was a kid. And so that is a real challenge as you get older to meet those requirements.
Right. So you're, sounds like you might be a supplement needing category. Taking supplements, you know, taking Tums or whatever you take for calcium. Did you have a question, Stephanie?
I just wanted to add on to falls prevention. I was helping out with a remodel and they were so happy to lacquer and paint the new steps in shiny gloss, and I'm walking down here barefoot and I fall coming down the 2-story, and I made it very adamant to my family, we need to put grips or something frosted if we can't put tape or something. They were dark wood, so I wanted this extra grip on there. So I found them on Amazon, but I'm sure they have them anywhere else, Walmart, but it was like a frosted tape, more of like a grip also on top of kind of what you see on steps like that. Yeah, so that really helped on top of lightening up the color a little on the edges. But yeah, no, it happens to everyone. It's just, you know, being a little bit more aware too and exiting out some things that could prove like an accident waiting to happen.
Right.
I have neighbors here who've chosen to increase the weight bearing exercise as a prevention factor on osteoporosis, and they use a backpack loaded with weights or rocks or whatever it might be, and do their walking with that, carrying that. And then the other thing, several friends have invested in the Apple Watch, I guess it is. I think the Android, I think it's not just Apple now, but that seems to be the best technology. And if your body weight goes down to, you know, in a fall, it alerts.
Oh, cool.
Doesn't matter where you are in the country or world or anything. It's not 100 feet from your house or anything. It's anywhere, and it will alert the emergency people and somebody, you know, whoever you have indicated should be the notified in your family or whatever.
Does it ask you first if you fell or anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the newest version.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think I've seen that advertised.
Yeah.
Paul has his hand raised. Did you do that on purpose, Paul?
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment, but I didn't want to interrupt anybody.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Okay. And maybe Carrie already knows this. I was trying to, I copied it, but I can't seem to post it on the chat. The reason I say she might know this because the city of Sacramento, along with UCD Davis, they're presenting what do they call it? A workshop starting October 3rd, Mondays and Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to noon. And it's free, and it's at the Heart Center, which is on downtown, Midtown rather, on 27th and J. And Linda, I'll email you what I copied because I just can't seem to print it copy it onto the chat.
So it's probably
And
in
if
the
you
Heart
wanted to-
newsletter, right? I probably have it already. I'll look.
Oh, okay.
I'll look.
Because anyway, but it talks just what everything that was covered about you learn to view falls as controllable, you set goals. And I think this is the program that she mentioned, the Matter of Balance, through UCD, but it's also with the city. So I signed up for it.
You don't have to be a UC Davis person to go to it.
No, it says anybody, where did it say? Workshops are free, refreshments served. I'm going for the refreshments. No, I'm
Even
just
better.
kidding.
That's why you're going. Now we know. Now we know why you're going.
Only because you say that every time I show up to Debbie's, you always say I came to eat.
Well, you're a smart
So-
man. You know not to miss the food. Yeah.
But anyway, I'll if I could send you an email if you wanted to share it, or
Yeah,
you know,
please
unless
do.
you're ready
Go
to
ahead.
have it.
Go ahead. Go ahead. That would be good.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Cari, there are several counties that have an actual commission on fall prevention. I think there's one in Sacramento, but I know that for several years now, which I guess just speaks to the importance of the issue.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, is one thing I think we can all agree on is, you kind of take your health for granted until you don't have it. And that's where, if we can prevent a fall and prevent an injury, that could be, an ongoing chronic issue. Boy, it just means everything. Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I have a small comment, Carrie. My neighbor, a big strapping man, senior, and the old fashioned old tiled shower stalls. Well, I still have one myself. And he slipped. And when he went down, he grabbed the faucet, and it was the hot water faucet. And he could not get himself out of that shower. So his injury was compounded by just, it's so instinctual to reach out and grab something, right?
Right.
That was so many years ago, but to this day, when I'm in my little showers, whatever happens, do not grab that faucet,
Yeah.
because
right.
it is so like I said, compounded his injury.
Yeah.
He was such a tall guy. I can't even imagine he could unfold himself to get, to get out of that door fast enough. But so don't use your faucets.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Safety
and that's
rails.
what I was doing, grabbing my faucet in the tub.
That's what you said, and that's what reminded me to
Yeah.
mention that.
It was it's an anchor. It's something lower than me because it was a tub. It's a separate tub.
Mhm.
But yeah, and
Or my
gets mad when
tenant,
I do it.
the
Yeah.
little old-fashioned soap indent next to the tub.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned, I guess, I don't know if they still make those. I had a tenant who grabbed it when she fell. She grabbed that. Well, that's meant to hold soap in a wash rag. It doesn't hold a person. It popped right out of the wall. So
Yeah.
it's just so important. Does anybody know who to call to have safety rails installed? I don't.
There's a group called Rebuild Together that will do it for free if you're income qualified. And then I've heard that if you aren't income qualified, if you offer to pay for it, they will do it, but they will have a lot of other options.
Oh, okay.
Do it.
Thanks, Karen.
I think,
Wow. Great resource.
and I think if you call 211, that's that information line for seniors or for anything really, they can give you a whole list of places. I think it's better to go to one that specializes in this rather
Exactly.
than handyman, because they're really experienced in terms of the product and the correct
Mhm.
placement.
Exactly. I didn't want to use a handyman.
Say the name
Thank you,
again. Rebuild.
Karen.
What was it, Karen?
It's called Rebuild Together.
Together. Okay.
And but they're swamped, I know, but they should be a good source. But I always check with 211. And you can do that online or by phone. It's 24/7. Somebody will answer, and it doesn't matter what question you ask. They will give you any kind of resource.
Wow.
So.
That's great to have.
Mhm,
Thanks for sharing that, Karen.
mhm.
So, showers that have seats in them, or when you're taking a shower,
Mhm.
like you want to put a lot of soap on. Then it's better to sit down to do that than have a shower head that's removable.
Like a handheld.
And so you're not standing there like in your shower with soap everywhere. So you slip when you go to put the shower back
Right,
and
right.
you're tempted to grab the
Are you hearing what he's saying, Carrie?
No, I can't
That
hear.
if, that a good idea for a shower is to actually have a seat and a handheld nozzle, so you can basically sit down, soap yourself and rinse off without having, be stay in a standing up position. You should add that to your slides.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the newer showers, I mean, who's remodeling at this point, but do have seats, and the handheld is very common. And we did that for my mom. We put in a shower chair in her shower,
Yeah.
and my brothers modified the shower head to be a handheld, and it just increased her independence and allowed her to be able to stay in her home, by just doing a few things like that. I mean, if she would have fallen in the shower, that would have been awful. That would have been really awful.
The other thing is, I have a friend who's still working, he wants to keep working, but he's thin and he got dehydrated and passed out at work. So they told him he can't come back. He saw the doctor gave him a bunch of things that he didn't want to listen to, but he wanted to go back to work. So water hydration, one of the big things was he was dehydrated.
Uh-huh.
It's a simple test against your skin. And so now he tries to drink enough water to stay hydrated. But hydration is something that is one of those things that can make it lightheaded and pass out or trip and
Right.
fall. And that's an easy one.
Yeah.
To stay hydrated.
And Radhika talked about that a lot yesterday too.
Yeah.
He's talking about staying hydrated, Carrie.
Yeah, I heard that part.
She's not here today, but we have a volunteer who's an EMT. I bet you the ambulance guys just have great stories of
Oh, yeah.
rescues they've made of poor people that have fallen in the tub in the bathroom, and I'm sure 95% of the time when they go into someone's home to save them, there's some tragedy that's happened in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So your bathroom is a death trap. That was the bottom line.
Basically.
Well, sure.
The other, if you aren't able to put a seat in or whatever, minimally, there should be a mat on the floor of your, a bath mat, a non-slip bath mat on the floor of your shower or bathtub.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter how much soap or anything, you're not going to slip on that. So, yeah.
Good point.
Hat that's made out of diatomaceous earth. Put it, step on it, water wicks away, so it's dry. And then it's got a rubber underneath, so you don't step on it, doesn't slide at all. But the water will evaporate away between the showers. But the bath mat stays dry on the top, so that you're not slip hazard where you're stepping out of the shower.
Where'd you get that?
I saw it on TV.
Okay.
So it won't disintegrate though?
No. Well, I don't know. I haven't gotten it yet, but I'll tell you.
Yeah. He's talking about a bath mat out of diatomaceous earth. I can't imagine that wouldn't. I don't know what diatomaceous earth is, I guess.
Those are two-cell creatures. When they die, they leave a calcium structure. And they're inert. They use it for things like pest prevention, pest flowers.
Oh,
But can be compacted and made into a form
okay.
that stays together.
Fascinating.
So coincidentally, my daughter just bought a yakitori barbecue. Yakitori is a skewer with either vegetables on it or what you can. And it's made out of diatomaceous earth. The barbecue is a mesh grill in the top. But it's small, and so you know, street, people who buy street food, they like it because they can just move it around. Keep up the charcoal thing going.
We are so lucky you came to our program. You are just a.
Yeah.
You've never had yakitori? Oh, man.
No, I've
You
not.
gotta do this now.
All right, Carrie, anything else? This is great.
No, thanks for all a lively discussion. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks you. And Linda, we need to talk about October.
Sure do.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but okay, yeah, we do.
I did my-
You want to do that right now, or do you want to email
No,
me?
let's do it after like next week.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Oh, the thing is-